Okay, ready to go. Alright, folks. I thought I was going to start working on that prepper novel now. But I guess I can continue this one. Cause God knows, this novel feels like it, this novel feels like one of those kind that if you left it, it'd never be finished. Usually I don't get that feeling, but if I get that feeling, I'm gonna stick with it and finish it off. Mike thought the rooms, the camp looked a bit like what would happen to camp in a more conventional war, where one enemy enjoyed total air superiority and just trounced the other from the air. Air superiority. Trounce the other from the air. With the camp. Naturally, the camp. Jade didn't have any camps. Control any Jade upstarts. The Jade rebels didn't have any camps like this. And if they did, it would have been reduced to this kind of room. From a hill, tall hill, Mike saw it all. The whole camp. The wreckage. The whole camp. There were, most of the tents had been burned, and most of the tents had been burned, but some bigger ones still remained upright somehow, even though they were flame damaged and had their share of, and had plenty of bullet holes in them. The trenches were manned by corpses about the perimeter. All sides were manned only by dead Zetan and Chromish troops. Through Mike's binoculars, he got a good look at the whole camp. 10 meters away. Oh, good look. And many of those dead, most of whom were mangled in some way. Armored vehicles had plowed through. Most of whom... Yeah, fuck you, okay, word? I'm sick of that shit. You know, when I suggest who, you said whom? Yeah, any other time, if I said who, you'd say whom. Yeah, like a damn owl. Or the one time I use whom, you say, oh, that's gotta be who. Cheeky monkey bullshit. Hate when people try cheeky monkey shit. Yeah, frickin' form the Franco-British Union. You should really take that out of Hearts of Iron, because Britain and France will never become one country. Never. Not in a million years. If they were on death's door with Germans invading Britain, they wouldn't have become one country. It's just not how it is. It's so annoying. All these... There's plausible alt history, and then there's just bullshit alt history that's just totally impossible. Armored vehicles that plowed through the perimeter trenches as though the enemy had no armor or AT weapons. Like they were a bunch of... Oh shoot, I gotta change that. AT to AL. Check. Rogue. Like they were a bunch of medieval warriors. Soldiers being fought by a modern army. I don't count this as a battle scene, folks. Going through a battlefield after it's all over, that's not showing or telling. I don't consider showing action to be just showing a guy getting an action scene and just showing a guy getting slashed or murdered. That's just carnage. That's not action. You gotta show a bit of back and forth, in my view, for it to count. I don't know. There should be some regulation about it, some rule. I don't know. Like that rule everybody talks about the Blaisdell test or something. Have girls talk about something besides a man in a movie, and that makes it, I don't know. That just makes it acceptable to this Blaisdell thing. I've seen plenty of stories where women talk about stuff besides men. Even in horror movies, which usually just, even in the Friday the 13th movies, even in horror movies, you know? Or usually everyone's talking about sex and stuff all the time. The best horror movies are the ones that... Some of the best horror movies are ones that don't have any sex or violence in them at all. Not that you need those things to make a good story, clearly. There's plenty of books, examples of that, where story is great without sex. There were several dead jade tanks, medium types, scattered among the wrecked UZ chromish tanks, which were pretty much the same in size and stats. It was like some two armies of equals in tech, at least in tank tech, had battled each other. The Allied tanks had been trounced. What camp was this? Was it UN? Chromish? The Allied tanks have been trounced in battle. There must have been some good aces among the enemy forces. A few half-tracks, trucks, and castle cars, and some jeeps had also been smashed to bits in the Jade attack. 3 trucks had gone up at the perimeter. Apparently the defenders had tried to make a break for it. But they didn't get far, and plenty of them died inside the tanks. Died in the still in the trucks. And they were hanging out this back and doors. It was like some coroner's truck had a nasty accident, getting a bunch of bodies to the morgue. Is the coroner's office the morgue? Same thing? I don't know. I always thought of the morgue as like, you know, the room where the bodies are, you know, where the actual physical dead people are. Coroner's office can just be where they fill out all the damn paperwork. At least that's what it is in my mind, you know. There were no shortage of bodies in the open, and likely many more hidden in the tents and wreckage about the area. The camp wasn't that large, but there were Mike estimated. Then a camel walked up to Mike and said, Mike, come on. Do you know what day it is? Hump Day? I say there were hundreds. Or at least 200 dead people. Allied troops. And about 30 or so jade littering the perimeter, littering the area. Mostly at the perimeter, but there were some scattered in the camp, naturally. The, most of the dead Allied troops were Zetins. And I could imagine the uproar there was going to be over this. Some chromish colonel had lit everybody. Was he a colonel back in the Civil War? I think a colonel leads a battalion. Yeah. Colonel is like the most, what would you say, highest rank you can be, and be like a guy in the field running around shooting up the place. You don't hear generals. You don't hear about generals doing that stuff. And Colonel, I let everybody, I let a bunch of good Zetin boys get wiped out. Mike didn't see the battle. There'd be a bunch of people back home clamoring that. Clamoring. Oh yeah, always clamoring. People always clamoring. Always clamoring about something. That's the problem today, too. Always, everyone's always outraged, always going crazy. I think people would die from that. I mean, just die from all this negativity in their minds and bodies, you know, like it would actually metastasize somehow into a cancer. I think if you do, I think there is some psychological stuff to all that. If you feel sick and miserable and if you feel sick and miserable all the time, you're probably gonna be sick. You're gonna fool yourself into thinking you are sick, you know? Like a beautiful person fooling themselves into thinking they're ugly or too fat or, you know, that kind of stuff. The mind has a very great impact on the body. I'm not even getting into occultist kind of thinking. I'm just saying, rambling, you know. It's been proven by science, you know. It's like addiction. Addiction can be to, you know, people can get the same addictive feelings from like a video game or being at the casino. Because video games less expensive, I guess. If you get addicted to one game, well, there's just $60. If you're addicted to gambling, you'll probably destroy your family fortune. Speaking of which, how many times in fiction have people been on bad financial situations because they gambling addiction, you know? I mean, yeah, that is a problem, but I think most of people end up bankrupt and in trouble for other reasons. I might be wrong. I don't know. Have like the Bureau of Labor and Statistics here, and it's not relevant to the story. I usually only research stuff that's relevant to the story that I'm doing at the moment. So war-related stuff that's relevant to this. If I was doing a police story, I'd look up police stuff. There'd be a bunch of people back home clamoring for Zetin boys to be led by Zetin officers exclusively. No foreign commanders. This was despite all that goodwill from the World Wars, where plenty of guys fought under foreign commanders without complaining. Chromish boys under Zetin generals and reverse. Mike was commanded by Chromish officers for years before he was commanded by a Zetin one. It felt weird. It felt weird to him back then, at the time, since like he was now being commanded by a foreigner. He had the Chromish army had felt like home for that long. For that long. What are you wearing? I gotta check if you're wearing a Zetin army uniform. Because in that part of the story, America wasn't in the war yet, you know. American soldiers It'd be kind of like American soldiers turning up and fighting in the Battle of France or something. It would be like... That would be considered like, you know, I don't know, fighting without a formal declaration of war. Which is something we've been doing since World War II. I think World War II was the last time we officially declared war on somebody. But, you know, if someone said, that means we haven't been at war since 1945, I'd say, fuck you. Okay? You tell me Korea and Vietnam and Iraq and the second Iraq and Afghanistan, those weren't wars? Fuck you. The wars were as bloody and costly for us as any of the world wars. Maybe even more so. We spent trillions in these wars, and we spent maybe billions in World War II, which was a global war for civilization. So what the hell? God only knows how much the fucking Cold War cost. Imagine if the Cold War never happened. The money we could have had for cancer research and space exploration, all that good stuff, instead we had to spend it on fucking nuclear weapons. So that asshole Stalin, Lenin, and those other losers of history. Bunch of child murderers. Freaking murdered the royal family of Russia. They weren't great people, but, you know, you don't murder women and children. It had nothing to do with how the Russian war went, you know. It was all stupid anyway. Everyone wanted to fight World War I until they were actually fighting it, and then they were eager to get out of it, but they invested so much blood and treasure that anything less than total victory was unacceptable. Boy, I'm rambling. That was some good coffee, it must have been. Oh boy. Let's see. Some Merc forces had died in the fighting as well. Mike didn't see till he got down in the camp itself among the dead. They had their own uniforms, a dark grayish brown with thin black lines through it, like that raindrop camo from, the raindrop camo, which the Bloodkins used in World War III, and the East Bloodkins use now. Most of their army. I get killed. These dead men definitely weren't Bloodkin or commies. Weren't Bloodkin. They were Japanese. They wore a red shield insignia. Yeah, with a tuft of orange flame with a white grinning skull. More shield sitting on their right shoulders and helmets. They wore the shield. They wore the insignia of their Merc outfit on their right shoulders and helmets, which were M1 Zeton types. Yeah, the old M1 helmet from World War II. Our modern helmet, I think, looks very much like the German helmet from World War II. I guess we decided, hey, it's a good idea. It's a good idea, even if it comes from the Germans. It's a shame. If they knew it's a kind of a shame too. If they knew the German helmet was superior to the American ones since the end of World War II, then why the hell didn't they use those? Well, it didn't matter. It wasn't like there was going to be friendly fire. The German army was dead. Well, not dead per se, but you know, we didn't have to fight the East German army ever. The East German army never, in its whole 40-year history, never went to war, which is good because it would have been the end of the world. Not because the East Germans were that deadly, but because, well, you know, it would have gone to a nuclear war pretty quickly. I think I read the only time they were deployed in action was in that Czechoslovakia uprising thing, which, you know, not a very impressive battle, I guess. like to write a story about the Greek Civil War that happened after World War II, but no, I couldn't find any good books on it, at least on Kindle, which is my go-to. It's been years since I bought a print book. And even then, only because they didn't offer the damn thing on Kindle. I guess I do need something to read in the bathroom, you know? Can't take the Kindle in there. Let's see where that's it. The insignia was a black shield with a grinning, flaming skull in the center. The skull had a tuft of orange fire on top, like a strange bit of unruly hair. The initials in English underneath the skull were the initials in English for the group's name. HF. Hellfighter. I didn't know why they didn't write it. The initials in Japanese. Mike thought. Mike the kind of guy who would say Jap instead of Japanese. Yeah, probably. Yeah, Mike's not racist, but he's not politically correct, you know what I mean? It's like, well, you know, it's like I was seeing a story yesterday about a girl who was racist and she got killed. And I thought, well, you know, that's good, but, you know, maybe it would have been better if she had a redemption, like she realized the error of her ways, but nope, she's just dead. Dead people can't learn nothing. Dead people can't learn nothing. That'll be the title of my next book. Nah, it's probably already taken. All the good names for books are taken already. God's sakes. Didn't know why they didn't write the initials in Japanese, which Mike thought looked pretty cool. Mike wondered why. There's a double negative or something, I don't know. I think that was fine, but, you know, I heard you're not supposed to use double negatives unless absolutely necessary. Much like nuktacular nukes, I guess. Mike wondered why they didn't write the words, the initials in English. Something about that still doesn't feel right to me. Mike was sure the Japs would be pleased that he approved of that some random guy from Zeta approved of their 5,000-year-old writing system that was literally a source of their national pride. And let's see, I wonder why. What's that song? Yeah, the Runaway. Okay, folks, see you later. Have a nice day.